Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Hicksy is at it again, revealing that Vegas Legion are indeed going to make a change after all in this roster mania period. Prolute is probably the man to be going out, and then iLLeY removed all mention of OpTic from his bio and name on Twitter last night. Some people thought maybe he's going to go to Vegas instead. iLLeY denies that rumour, but he still might be going elsewhere. Where could that potentially be? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. First of all, got to mention Sim6. He was on stage yesterday for the ESL R1. It's a brand new game that's not even been released to the public yet. That crew is playing here against some of the best sim racers in the world. It's not a surprise that he kind of got bodied here, but it was awesome to see. His number actually, his driving number on his car, whatever, is 38, which I didn't notice at the time, but people pointed out that, yeah, 38 for 38 championships, very Crimsixian thing to do. And I mean, honestly, they were tuning into him right here. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, right? The viewership for Crimsix's first run here in the quarterfinals that he obviously didn't make it through, where he had more viewers here than the grand finals had later in the day, which I decided to watch. And I would have been watching this if it wasn't for Crim. His very first warm-up lap here, he bins it in the wall. You guys can see here. I mean, he kind of clipped the inside apex a bit too much here, and then just spins out into the wall. This is comedy. But this wasn't on his actual flying lap. On his flying lap, he did a 218, which the top guys are doing about a 215. Which honestly wasn't too terrible, I didn't think. I mean, it's Spa, it's a super long lap for Crim, and to be 2-3 seconds off the pace of the top guys, I didn't think was too bad, to be honest. I mean, look, this guy does it part-time as a hobby, and these other guys like Yoni Tormino and others are like real top drivers. So the race went like this. He was actually in 11th briefly because Bonahui's had an instant and span out and then ended up overtaking Crim again later on in the race. But he was lapping 2-3 seconds slower than the top guys, which obviously is not great, it's not ideal, but it's a gap that potentially could be closed over time. Hopefully, Crim's grind. Hopefully by the end of the season, Crim will be more competitive here. He ended up being about 30 seconds behind at the end of the race, but he did spin out towards the end. Without that, he might have finished about 20 seconds behind the leader, which I don't think would have been too bad, all things considered, given these are real top guys. He admits here on Twitter, I'm probably a meme at this point, the results to be expected. I think if I didn't spin like an idiot, I would have ended 15 seconds back from the leader, because he probably torched his tires as well doing that, because apparently this game is really harsh on tire wear and stuff. Gonna watch my teammates for the rest of the day. They're much faster than me. So, cool stuff for Crim. Hopefully, I wish him the best, obviously, on this journey that he's undertaking. It takes a lot of balls, honestly, to go up there on stage with this brand new rig, really expensive rig. We'll actually see it here in a second. With, obviously people behind you, thousands of people watching online, and to race against some of the top guys in the world. It takes balls for Crim to start this journey. So, hopefully it works out for him. And, if he can get within a second of these guys over the course of the season, I think that's going to be a good result. And if you get within a second, then Crim could actually, if there's some absolute chaos that happens, he can potentially take advantage of it. So by the time this video goes live, he might well have already done his second semi-finals or second quarter-finals. So I think they do 2 days, one at Spa. I'm guessing today they're racing in a different circuit. And yeah, so I'll be tuning in. And people are roasting FaZe for bringing Crim onto their team. It's well, I wouldn't have watched this. And I know loads of other people in the chat yesterday wouldn't have watched it if it wasn't for Crim getting involved. So good stuff for all involved. Wishing the best for Crim. Let's talk Rostermania then. Prolute, the following is now true. Pro Call of Duty player 4, and there's nothing there anymore. It's been noticed that Prolute removed Vegas Legion from his bio, kind of confirming probably that Prolute is the one to go. Now, look, if there was going to be a change made to Vegas, it was probably going to be Prolute all along. We know that Temp and TJ and Clay and TJ and all this, it's more than likely that TJ was going to stay if they were going to make a change, and Prolute would be the man to make way there. Now, at the end of the day, why have they made this change now? Just because as soon as the major finished, the word on the street was Vegas weren't making a change. Now it seems that they are, unless this is all bait, and even Shotzzy leaks in a second that indeed they are making a change. They could have done it right after the major and potentially signed a guy like Capsule, right? I mean, okay, maybe Capsule anyway would have just gone to Florida, but the fact they made a change late means that offers, potentials like Capsule, for example, are now off the table because, they took their time too long and now he's gone to Florida, we believe. That's what's happening. There are still some options. There's this Dak guy, right, which have been talked about quite some time. Every time Dak has got a chance in the Pro League, Capsule comes in and swoops his spot away. So maybe it's a, Clayster type move to pick a player like that up. But Prolute is probably gone, and if this wants to load, we saw last night from Shotzzy that indeed Prolute is removed from the bio, and Shotzzy basically confirmed on stream yesterday that Vegas Legion, I think they scrimmed them and saying, yeah, they're going to make a change very soon indeed. Hicksy is at it again.
I'm just listen, dude. I'm not gonna lie. They're making a change.
You're leaking it? Damn. Yeah.
Well, it's pretty obvious. Like, it's literally obvious.
Leaked it. And just leaked it.
It's pretty obvious. I mean, dude, it's pretty obvious. Like,
it's pretty obvious, bro.
It's pretty obvious. Dude.
It's pretty. I mean, bro, listen. He took it out of his
Listen,
bio.
man. Listen, dude. We played him right. You know, we played a response against him.
You played him?
Yeah, we played him today. We played a response against him. They said it's shocked. I mean, Byron literally took Vegas out of his thing, so I mean, it's pretty obvious.
So we reckon it's pretty obvious Legion are considering a roster move. They probably will make one. I mean, look, we've seen Pro League removed it from his bio. That probably is it for his second run, I suppose, in the Pro League for now. What do they do? Who do they pick up? That's the big question. And TJ actually tweets about it right here, like, you know, puts this out, and we got some other tweets as well from Pro Loot. So more than likely something's going on. What player do they bring in instead of Pro Loot? I don't know. I mean, it's one of these things at the start of the season where it was just so obvious that at some points they would have to make a change to their SMG line. Clay and Tim were always kind of going to deliver, I think, what was expected on the AR side. There was a question, could TJ hit a level of consistency we've known from him in the past? Would Prolute be the guy? Like, you know, the SMG line was always the big question mark at the start of the season. I felt like maybe there was a chance even at the start of the year to pick up a guy like Cap or some other player with a bit more upside in the SMG department, and maybe that's now what they're going to go for. They had a good run at the start of the year. Their Search and Destroy was phenomenal, but now they're in a point where if they don't make a change, they're not making the World Championships. They've got to try and switch something up. Now, of course, with Legion, right, they don't do buyouts. At least, you know, we don't believe they do buyouts. They're not going to be going through to any team and signing a player and paying a buyout or anything, paying a, you know, restricted free agent to get them onto their team. They'll be dipping into challenges. They'll be fishing someone out of there that they can sign for free. That is basically how this will be. So it does narrow down the pool significantly, especially when you're looking for SMGs, and there are, you know, not too many SMG players that are realistically available. Now, let's talk about the iLLeY thing, because some people thought, for some reason, briefly, that iLLeY was going to go to Vegas, just because, and this is actually a very good point as well, that, look at this is his bio change from yesterday. His name is now OpTic. Well, it's no longer OpTic iLLeY. He's removed OpTic from his name on Twitter, and he's also removed professional COD player for OpTic Texas entirely from his bio. So now it just says whatever it takes 2020 COD World Champion. So yeah, quite the developments of iLLeY, right? I mean, we saw this happen during the off-season, right, when Dashy was dropped and he removed OpTic, and then it was back again, and then the same thing happened to iLLeY when he was, I think, dropped the first time, and there was some rumors, okay, why hasn't he put OpTic back yet? And then eventually he did. But removing it is weird, right? Just because, well, it's not weird if he's going to another team, but it's weird if he's not going to another team, because he could potentially be stuck on OpTic. That's been the theory. Could he be stuck there until the end of the season if OpTic can't find a team to sell him to, if they want to ensure that they get the money for his buyout that's required? OpTic and Hex are always pretty good with this stuff, though, right? If a team comes through with a reasonable offer, like OpTic will let him go. That's generally how they do business, at least under Hex's management. Maybe Hastro and Envy might have a different thing to say about it. If, well, let's just say when he gave Arcitys to FaZe for free back in the day, maybe not the most optimal setup looking back on the decision. But removing all mention of OpTic from iLLeY's side definitely implies, right, that he's gone from OpTic. Like, he's not going to be there. If he was still there as a bench player, you'd imagine that he would have at least kept his name as OpTic iLLeY or something for now, because, you know, clearly that relationship is not looking so good, or iLLeY actually already has a move lined up such that he can be happy to remove OpTic from all his bio and everything, because he's already going to join a new team and he's already coming for that revenge. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. We'll see about this one, but definitely implies to me that iLLeY probably has an offer lined up somewhere else. Now, this won't be the Vegas Legion, right? So, actually, Crone tweets this out here. Apparently, iLLeY recently followed them on Twitter, and iLLeY replies, lol, I'm not joining Vegas, right? So, for various reasons, that's not going to be happening. iLLeY to Vegas, I mean, it would never be a thing anyway. It doesn't even make sense for roles, because Temp would have to, like, run the sub or something to get Clay and iLLeY there. It'd be kind of nice, right, to have Clay and iLLeY back on the same team, but it's not going to happen. Vegas aren't going to pay the buyout. That's never a thing. But even the fact that iLLeY replies to this and says, hey, I'm not joining Vegas, kind of implies I'm joining somebody, right? Like, I'm going somewhere, especially by removing OpTic. So what options are there remaining? We saw yesterday that, okay, Ravens is maybe, but I mean, they're not going to pay a buyout. Florida, you already know they've made their mind up of Capsule and Fellow coming in. Vegas, we know that they're, you know, obviously you just said he's not joining them. So that leaves Surge, who apparently aren't interested, Breach, and Guerrillas, as we saw yesterday. Now, Boston Breach, I don't believe is the case, just because last night sent to us kind of, well, showing some, I guess, some footage from Scrims last night, where you can see Kremp, Doug, Shawnee, and Pentagram. This was the initial rumor, right? So Methods retires, Beans, pretty much the star player of their academy roster, stepping into the starting team for for Boston, and then Pentagram was the man to replace him, and then Doug was going to be the AR. They can see Doug's already 9-4. You know, this guy's absolutely out of control. But obviously, it depends how long ago this is from, but if indeed this is still their Boston Academy roster with Kremp, Doug, Shawnee, and Pentagram, then Beans is not coming back to the Academy, i.e. Beans is on the starting roster, and therefore iLLeY isn't there, right? That was maybe the rumor that, okay, potentially if iLLeY is a free agent, they could maybe put iLLeY into the Boston team instead of Beans, then Beans would go back to the Academy team, then Pentagram would go again, and they'd go back to what they were doing over there. But that's not the case, we believe. Therefore, iLLeY to Boston is less likely to be a thing. So the only other option that really remains, therefore, is Los Angeles Guerrillas. Now, they were playing this scrim the other day. This is only a couple of days ago, the 10th of February, this is, where Arcitys tweeted this out, where you can see the full LAG team as it currently stands. But LAG have the money, they've got the resources, they've got the willingness to try and improve. And, you know, could iLLeY for an assault or something improve their roster? I think maybe it could. I don't know if it's the full extent of their issues, but I think it could conceivably be an upgrade there. But, I mean, yeah, I don't know, pretty interesting option. But, I mean, is that the only option left? Like, I don't know, I'm looking at the teams and I'm thinking, okay, unless like Minnesota change out of nowhere, which, you know, maybe, right? I mean, it depends. It's an interesting one with Cammy over there because he's not been performing at the level we expect from Cammy, and then he also does play that flex role, but, you know, I'm not so sure it does the firepower changes they need. So, some interesting questions that I'm definitely tweeting your thoughts in the comment section below on, because, I mean, we look at these rosters that, that Jacob L was pointing out. Like, obviously, he's denied some of them, and some of them just won't be happening. Like, okay, Toronto, they're not going to make a change yet. Minnesota, after getting top 3, it seems unlikely. Certainly, New York, Thieves, or FaZe aren't going to make any moves. Breach, as we said, is probably not going to happen. Surge have said they're not interested in iLLeY as well, and they're not making any changes. So it leaves Guerrillas, and maybe it leaves Minnesota in some outside world where they want to try and pack a punch for Cammy, which I'm not actually sure is necessarily a pack a punch anyway, especially with team chemistry and these type of things to consider also. So yeah, where do you think he's going to go? But definitely the implication from iLLeY has been over the last few hours here that indeed he's going somewhere. But, you know, there's not many options remaining on the table as we discussed yesterday. Quick note from Real, actually, because he tweeted this in his time and then deleted it. Now, he is, well, an academy player for the Minnesota Rokkr. So whether he's either getting brought into the starting team there, which, again, it seems a bit unlikely given the circumstances, or maybe Vegas have bought him out. Like, again, that seems unlikely as well. So I'm not really sure what to make of all these rumors. I just wanted to share what's going on, and you guys can try and piece together what you think's happening. But, yeah, Rostermania is difficult to predict right now. In a strange turn of events, OpTic are actually set in so that we know what they're doing. At least, well, we don't know the iLLeY substitute situation there. Of course, if iLLeY was to leave, I guess Scump is their sub once again, which he was for some time anyway. Also thought this was quite funny here from Donny Temp, because Rise Nation tweet out their new kind of jerseys here, and Don gives the fire because, I mean, yeah, I'm sure he would like to have Rise Nation return to COD. They've teased it a lot, actually, Rise Nation, saying, okay, we're going to come back to COD and all this. But, yeah, pretty difficult to say. Do wonder at some point whether Vegas get bought out by someone or other. That's always been a discussion point, right? Especially with London getting bought out by the Koi guys, and obviously, well, we think it's likely next year that London won't be London anymore. It might well be Madrid or something. So, yeah, we'll see on that front. And just one final thing here from Scump I thought was quite interesting to close out the video, when Scump discusses bringing back a one COD from the past, and he actually says World War II, which wasn't one of his better games, it wasn't one of their better years, but saying that what he would do, actually, if he could relive one season of COD, is to run it back to World War II and ensure that the Dynasty team didn't break apart, right? Of course, they won the World Championship in 2017. They lost that Grand Finals to FaZe at Stage 1 playoffs, and he reckons what they should have done is stick together, you know, change things around a little bit, ensure that the roster maintains, and then they could have still had some great success with their roster of Formula Karma going forwards. But, of course, everything blew up that season. I thought it was quite nice for Scump to look back on that, really. But hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.